welcome to Unite Podcast. I'm Amanda.
I'm Jew.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to fight fear. So, as you all know, that any relationship you have, you're going to get into an argument one time or another. Most relationships start in the honeymoon phase, as people like to call it. And that phase is typically when, you're butterflies and rainbows and everything's going good. But then something happens along the way and you get into your first argument. So you want to talk a little bit about our first argument when we were dating?
Sure. So our first argument, I don't remember.
Don't judge me, please.
Our first argument, I don't know what it was about, but
I do. It was when you wanted to go play basketball.
Oh, okay. So I went to go play basketball on our quote-unquote anniversary because we were counting every single month and every single day. But anyways, yeah, so she got upset because I went to go play basketball with the guys.
With the fellas.
And
left me high and dry.
She felt some type of way because I used to come over every night, even though we didn't live together.
Yeah.
I would come over after work or whatever. We used to hang out. So this particular day, I decided to go and play basketball.
On our 3-month anniversary. I don't know how many months it was, but it was, like, looking at it now, was something that definitely we can laugh at. But at the time, it was something serious for me. And so I think, like, keeping ourselves on topic with, fighting fair, that particular situation did not end well. I think I left and I was really upset, or maybe that was another time, but it was just no bueno.
Yeah, but I don't remember if that was the first, argument, but whatever the case may be, when we would get into arguments, she would, leave the house. She left the house, left me at her house.
I left him at I left him at my house. And I just drove off. I didn't tell him where I was going. He didn't know. He was freaked out, and he was very upset when I got back. Not because I left, but more so because I didn't tell him where I was going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kind of mentioned, if you would have got in an accident.
True.
Or if, and another thing is, just staying on topic, is when we first got together, we kind of both came from two different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, my wife had been in, some toxic relationships where, arguments and fights were all the time.
Screaming and yelling.
And screaming and yelling matches and things of that nature. And I was more laid back. So when we would get into, arguments, she didn't understand why I was so calm, not screaming back at her.
I took your calmness as you not taking the situation seriously. And it kind of, flustered me because I was used to, what I felt was passion. And I think we have to, one thing we need to stop doing, in general, is thinking that screaming and yelling at each other means that you care for each other. There is a better way to argue. So I think number one on my list for how to fight fair is to try to remain calm, let leveled heads prevail, because you're really, when two people are screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, or you're yelling and you're raising your voice, you're not hearing each other at that point. You're really just talking through your emotions, and you're not able to process what each other is saying. So I would say rule number one for me is to try to talk about whatever the situation is in a calm way.
Right. And I'll piggyback off of that, because when we've had arguments, or just in general, I'll say, you're hearing me, but you're not listening. You're listening to respond, or hearing to respond. And as you mentioned, when you're really emotional, you can't really comprehend.
Yeah.
And that goes to our second thing. I'll say, and I'll add this as my second thing, is...
I wonder if it's the same as my second thing. Go ahead.
When we used to get in arguments, I was really pressing the matter and wouldn't allow my wife to take a break and process what was going on. I kind of wanted to okay, let's settle this and let's figure out what the issue is, and let's just get it over with. But sometimes when you're dealing with somebody that I'm more laid back, my wife is more of a hothead. So sometimes hotheads need time to cool off before they can actually process what's going on.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, just to build transparency for myself, I have taken anger management, and I had to really break it down to him this way once. Like he was saying, like when we would get into like disagreements, he wants to tackle whatever it is in that moment. But if you've ever gone to anger management, or if you haven't, here's what I learned. There are signs that your body gives off when you're getting really upset. Like warning signs, like your breathing might get heavy, you might feel like your heart is racing, and you just feel like, oh, like you get this tightness. For me, it's like a tight feeling, like in my body, I get really, really stiff.
You get rage.
So I get rage. So I had to learn from anger management that when I start to feel like that, I need to walk away and I need to calm down and cope with how I'm feeling and process what it is. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good situation for either party. So he could not really he didn't really understand that, because you wanted to do things when you wanted to do them and discuss things when you wanted to discuss. And he took it as me like not wanting to handle this or deal with the situation. And it wasn't that I didn't want to deal with it. It was like, I need time to calm down because I'm very upset right now.
Right.
And
so, I don't think it was just I wanted my way. I think too is because we're two different type of people. So I think that's another thing is when you're not a hothead, like to me, I've never been through anger management and I don't have that.
You wanted it your way because you would say stuff like, no, we need to talk about this right now. We need to deal with this now. Like, I'm like, excuse me? Like, I need to calm down before I start swinging arms and stuff. Like,
but it's not about just having it my way. I think it's more
it's about having it your way. No, it's not. It's Mr. knocking on the door.
It's just we're two different people. So like as you mentioned, when you're upset and you're like really, as you say, passionate.
Yeah.
For a person like me, when have I ever said, I need to cool down? Leave me alone.
Never.
Don't touch me. Don't hug me. Nothing.
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
He wants to hug. This dude be making me so mad. He been trying to hug on me. Come here. No. I don't want to hug. I need to lock you out of this door so I can calm down.
She wants to be her.
I'm locking him out the door and he over there knocking on the door. Get away from me right now.
Which goes to our next point before we stop.
Yes,
stop laughing.
It's a sidebar, but
my next point is.
But you need to still work on that.
Yes, but my next point is.
Yes.
As my grandmother always says, don't go to bed angry. I try not to go to bed angry with my wife, or even when we were together. It's like. Mm-hmm. Whatever we may went through that day, the day is over. Mm-hmm. Let's go to sleep, apologize, give each other a good night kiss. Mm-hmm. Not I'm going to bed upset because life is not promised.
But yeah, and I need to work on that. I'm not gonna lie, because it's not that I go to bed mad, but it's just like I'm still processing. Like I'm calmed down. I've calmed down. We've talked about it, but I'm still in my feelings about it. So I might not necessarily want to hug and kiss on you in that moment. Like, and I still think that I don't know if it's something I need to work on, but yeah, I think though, respecting your partner and listening and communicating like with them in that moment. Like if your partner is saying they need a minute, give them a minute. Like, right. But if you're saying you need a minute, you still need to go back to that situation. So take your minute. Some things that I do is I will sometimes write down my thoughts. Sometimes I will just sit there in my thoughts in silence and okay, I see it this way, but I'm trying to understand it his way. So I can kind of try to come to the table with an open mind. And I think that's a big, that's a point too. Like when you're in the middle of an argument, come to the table open-minded. Because you feel like you're right about it and so does your partner, but it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about coming to some type of common ground, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a compromise.
Not necessarily.
You might see it one way and I might see it another way, but we need to both respect each other's differences because you're two different people.
Right.
I think
the same thing as compromise though, isn't it?
No, compromise is like when you come to okay, I'll do some of it my way and some of it your way. That's more in my mind. That's what compromise is. For what I'm saying is coming to a point where you don't
agree to disagree.
Like right. Sometimes in arguments, you're gonna have to just agree to disagree because you're not gonna see
You're not the
it.
same person.
You're not gonna see it the other person's way. Like, you feel strongly about one thing, I feel strongly about each other. I maybe could like relate to some of what you're saying, but I still feel the way I feel, and that's okay. And I think sometimes, as people in relationships, we have to learn how to do that more.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to. And we talked about that in our last video, I believe, or one of our videos where we talked about opposites attract.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you're a hothead. I'm not a hothead, but we mix well because two hotheads don't work. Sometimes two chill people don't work.
Yeah.
So it has to be some type of common ground at the end of the day. So you don't have to agree. I can still consider that compromise. Maybe that's not compromise, but I don't think, like you said,
it's compromising to both come to the agreement that you're not going to agree with.
Right.
Yeah, so
that's why
that is compromising.
It's like sometimes you're not going to see it the same way, and that's fine. You got to love that person through it. And like you said, I have to learn how to. She don't want to kiss me right now. She don't want to hug me. She's upset.
Don't touch me. Like, that's just me. I'm mad at you, big mad, and I don't want none of the feels. I think too, we don't have this issue, but I see and hear about this issue like with some of my friends, or like just seeing different people's relationships play out. It's like, have some respect for the person you're with. Like, I feel like some people, when they get into arguments, the stuff that pops out of their people's mouth about the person they're with, like, once it comes out your mouth, you can't take it back. That's just how I feel. Like, you can't, there's no coming back from it. If you're calling, your woman out of her name, or you're calling your dude disrespectful things, like, you don't have to be disrespectful. Like, if you're upset, if you're that mad and you feel like you have to, degrade your person or your partner with, like, verbally abuse your partner, one, you don't need to be in that type of relationship, but two, you should have never had the conversation. If you were that upset, you should have that's a sign, telltale sign that you were not ready to have that conversation yet.
Right. And I just think it depends on I don't ever agree with calling somebody out their name.
No.
Or just, I don't agree with physical abuse. I don't agree with emotional abuse.
Yeah.
Any of those things. And I really don't even believe in necessarily having to raise your voice. Even though at times you get emotional, you get upset when we raise our voice at each other, I rarely raise my voice. My wife can, attest to that. And I really feel like at the end of the day, like you were saying, it's just about, coming to some type of compromise and understanding you. I think that's another big thing too, is a lot of people are not self-aware. Like when you talked about being in anger management, I think what anger management does, even though I haven't taken it from what you've told me from the courses you went through, it teaches you how to be self-aware. Like you said, if you see yourself hyperventilating, if you see yourself balling your fist up, or if you see yourself like steam coming out your ears,
like I
gritting
grit
your
my
teeth,
when I'm upset,
or turning another color, like turning red, or just being very upset, those are telltale signs that I need to take a break.
Need to take a break.
Need to have this conversation
and respect that person. Like, if he leaves like in the moment, or if she leaves in the moment, or whatever the case may be, respect that person. But I would also say, communicate. Like, I need a break because I'm really upset about this. I will be back, but I need a minute. Right. Please give me a minute, and respect that. Like, I think a lot of arguments get escalated because you're not respecting your person's boundaries.
Right.
And if he needs a minute, give him a minute. If she needs a minute, give him a minute. What the fighting and all that crazy stuff happens when it's like, no, you ain't going nowhere, and you trying to run after them, and they're already like escalated. They're already getting upset. You're escalating the issue, and you need to learn how to
give that person
time, respect what they're saying, but then come back to it. Because I think if it does not get addressed, that's also a problem. Yeah. That's also a problem. What do you think about that? Because I think a lot of issues like get blown up even because they're always like brush under the rug, and then eventually over time.
Yeah, and that was my biggest issue is just wanting to handle it right then and there. I just didn't want it to be tabled because you're upset and then we don't talk about it. But that was not the case in our situations because I kept, bringing it up. But I do think that I gotten better at understanding why you wanted to wait. That it wasn't that you were trying to avoid the hard conversations. It's like I just need a period of time to relax so I can, come to the table with a clear mind and not be so upset. So yeah.
I'm just laughing at you.
What?
Nothing, because I'm just like you know how things like go back through your head or whatever. Like I'm just thinking like, give the person the time, and then sometimes just sit in silence. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they're saying, another thing is like, if they're saying, give me a minute, give them a minute, but they don't want to hear you like talking in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love you to death, but sometimes you do that. I'm like, I need a minute. And then the whole time I'm like, I need a minute. He's like going on. And then it's like, it forces the conversation. And then sometimes I'm like, you are literally trying to force this conversation out of me. Like I said, he's a work in progress. That's why sometimes I have to literally like leave the room and go to another location, because if not, he's going to keep going. And then that's when I get upset. Literally, that's when it goes down, because dude, like, leave me alone.
Yeah, I can't help it. At the end of the day, I'm a fixer. When you're a fixer, and when you want to, fix situations and make things right, you're gonna still try to do that. So
and I know that what his intention is. So that's another thing. And then I guess we can like end on this point. Like, know the person you're with has good intentions for you, or at least they should. And if you cannot say in your heart of hearts that the person I'm with has good intentions for me, you don't need to be with them.
Exactly.
You don't need to be with them. If you know that the person you're with does not have, or you can't answer in 100% with your chest or your heart that the person that you're in a committed relationship with has the best intentions for you, even though sometimes you have good intentions, but it just doesn't play out the way you want it to, right? But you know, okay, this person has my best interest at heart. Yeah. If you can't say that, that's a sign you don't need to be with that person.
Yeah, I agree. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. If you can't, and even if you can't come to a compromise, because I feel like everything shouldn't be an argument either. Yeah. I feel like too many people comment, we're going to end on this note, just stay with people, but they can see that they're not compatible. Yeah. But it's just like, everything is an argument. What we're going to eat is an argument. Like, we have debates, but me and my wife don't argue a lot. No. Even when we were together, we didn't argue a lot. Yes, you're going to at times come up with an argument, but I feel like if you with somebody and you arguing every day, then y'all not compatible. Everything shouldn't be an argument. And like you said, I think some people take that as passion, or like, we're just really passionate. No. If you have to, as I tell people all the time, it should be kind of like easy, like a person that you're with. It shouldn't be a battle for every single thing. Every day we get in an fussing match. Every day we fighting over like cats and dogs. Like, it should not be that. It
should be, I would say relationships should be 99.9% easy.
Yes.
Like, no cap. Yes. If your relationship is not 99.9% easy, there's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm like, don't take what we're saying about easy, because sometimes people are like, well, what do you mean by easy? Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it shouldn't be everything is an argument. That's
everything is like you're pushing through the finish line. Like, that's what I mean by easy. Like, the majority of your relationship should be on one accord. Mm-hmm. Like, you and your partner should be on one accord. Will there be things that happen? Yes, but those things should be like very few far in between. It should not always be arguments. Now, I will say that the longer you get, I feel like the more you know your partner, and I feel like the easier it gets. Honestly, because at the beginning you are learning. There is a learning curve, right? Mm-hmm. You get with a person, you have a personality that you have to adjust to. That you're saying, okay, I'm me, you're you, we're together now. I have to learn you and what makes you tick, and that is a learning curve. So it could start a little bit rocky at the beginning because you're learning each other, but as you go on and as you learn each other, it should get easier, because I know this guy like the back of my hand, and this vice versa. He knows what's going to make me upset. I know what's going to make him upset, and I'm not going to intentionally make him upset. If I need to address something, I know how to approach him because I know him.
Right, I agree. I think we should end it there, but it was something else that you were saying, and I was going to chime in, but I think you already kind of said it. You were just basically saying, like, how you know me and I know you. Yeah. And I really feel like as you get to know people, that's basically. And
here go our kids, y'all. So, like, share, subscribe to our channel. We love y'all. Thank y'all for watching.
Wow.